5 signs that porn has you by the brain. I'm Dr. Trish Lee. Let me tell you how. Okay, so we are going to go through the 5 top signs. Stay with me till the end because if you are experiencing all 5 of these, it is time for help, my friend. Okay, sign number 1 is that the porn that you are watching currently defies your moral boundaries. So, if you are watching porn that is different or has escalated from the porn that you were watching in the past, and now it involves some ideas or some acts or some concepts that you actually don't agree with in real life. And I know it's cliche to say, to think about what's going on the screen with real people, but I challenge you to do that. That if you were watching some of those acts happen in your home, would you be okay with it? So some of the acts have a lot of violence towards women. And we know that searching for rape is up in terms of pornography, which is then rolling over into people's lives. But I digress. I won't go there right now. But if you're watching women being hit on the screen, would you be okay with that happening in your living room? If not, you have compartmentalized what you are watching, and it no longer is a reflection of your moral code in the real world. So I challenge you to have a check-in on that and think about the acts and the people and the ideas that you're watching. Do they match up with what you think is okay in the real world? Now, for more information about this, I've written it up in a blog on my website at Dr. Trish Lee. If you go to the blog and you search 5 signs porn has you by the brain, you'll find the blog post with lots more information where I describe other things that might cross your moral boundaries. Now, let me tell you why that happens. The reason that is happening is because escalation happens because your brain needs more and more stimulation. It needs more quantity, more time in front of pornography, and more intensity so that you can get the same amount of neurochemical releases in your brain. So what you were watching a year ago no longer does it for your brain. You need more. And so if you're on year number 10 of watching pornography consistently, likely what you have watched over time has escalated. But if it's crossed your moral boundary, you're heading for the slippery slope of destruction. So check in on that. Okay, number 2, you are starting to do or you are starting to want in real life some of the sex acts that you are seeing on the screen. So for example, if you are having fun in the bedroom with your partner and all of a sudden you think it's a great idea to choke her, because that's what you've seen on the screen. So you try to do that. Clearly, she's probably not going to appreciate that, even if she goes along with it for the moment. But what you are seeing in the screen is starting to show up in the bedroom for you. Now, what happens to other people, and this is why I'm here, because it escalates, remember it escalates, is that some people then will act out with other people, even though they don't want to, because their brain is telling them, I need more stimulation. Watching this on the TV or on my phone is no longer enough for me. I need to experience this in the real world. I just tried it with my partner. She shut me down. So I'm going to find someone who allows me to do these things. And the more extravagant they are, the less likely you're going to find someone who's not being paid for sex to be able to do that with you. So what happens to so many men is that they will seek out prostitutes, and people who are sex workers say that the number one thing that men request is something that they've seen in pornography. And that is the slippery slope of a porn problem. Check in on that. So if you found yourself wanting to do some of those things in the bedroom, or you've thought about trying to find someone who will do them with you, check in if that's where you want to go with this. Okay, that was number 2. Let's go for number 3 now. Number 3 is, I love this one. It cracks me up. And I don't love it in that sense, but you wake your partner frequently to have sex. Or it could be the polar opposite, and I'll discuss both of them, or you just don't even want sex in real life anymore. So I work with many partners who are a little relieved, not that they want to have a partner who has a pornography problem, but they're a little relieved to find out that some of the weird behaviors that their partner has been displaying have a reason. And this is one of them. So many of the partners say, he wakes me up at 2 a.m. to have sex because he'll stay up late and watch pornography, and then he wants to actually do some things in real life. Typically, some of the stuff he watched, not exactly what a woman wants to be woken up for. So people will say, he wakes me up at 4 a.m. Now, if you remember, going back to the root of what is pornography about, it's not even about sex at all. It's about self-soothing. So it's a tool for self-soothing. So if you're asleep, or you're supposed to be asleep, or you're trying to fall asleep, but you're feeling anxious, that is your go-to to be able to self-soothe. And your partner's right next to you, so you roll on over and you're like, hey, honey, I got a brilliant idea. It's 3 a.m. Would you like to have sex with me? So if you do that, check in on that. You're heading for the slippery slope. Okay, so now if you never want to have actual sex with your partner, that is your brain telling you, and this happens for so many people, that you cannot possibly get enough stimulation with an actual human being who's engaging in real life sexual acts that people actually enjoy. And I hope this isn't a newsflash to you that the majority of the sex acts that are being performed in pornography, women don't enjoy. That is for the pure benefit of the man, which is why many people like watching it, because it's completely objectified. It's only pleasure for the man. It's not something that two people are having fun together. So if you are disinterested in engaging in sex with your partner, it's likely because all the stuff that you want to do isn't about relational sex. It's that objectified sex where you're just using her as a tool for your pleasure. Women know that, and women are not into it. So check in on that. If you just don't have any interest in being with your partner, or you don't have interest in finding a partner, you're just happy enough right now with your pornography habit, you are likely going to go down that slippery slope and have a problem in the future. Okay, so that was number 3. Now, number 4. Number 4 is that you can no longer perform in the bedroom. So you're being with your partner, but it's not stimulating enough for you to be able to get erect, to be able to ejaculate. You just can't perform. So you can go on and on and on forever unless you add in some of those acts that you've watched in pornography that stimulate your brain. It has nothing to do with sex, and it has nothing to do with your genitalia per se. It totally has to do with the level of dopamine, the level of neurotransmitters that are being put into your brain to give you the level of stimulation to perform. So if you are no longer able to perform, and especially if you're young, and I know so many older men or men who are 50 think that it's just part of aging that they're having this difficulty. It's not. It's not. Not at the age of 50, it's not. And especially if you know you have a pornography habit, you need to check in on that, because that is not just part of normal aging. Okay, lastly, number 5, and this is a big one. Number 5 is you might not be aware of this, so I challenge you to do an exercise over the next week, and that exercise is see if you're doing this, because this is a biggie. Now, see if you're trying to escape your life. And what I mean by that is it's very difficult for you to sit around with friends without having the TV on. It's difficult for you just to have a conversation. You might feel less motivated to work out. You are distracted from your work, and you have a hard time, getting your get up and go into your work so that you can be on purpose and cranking away and doing what you need to do. You find yourself wanting to watch TV. This is a huge one. You find yourself wanting to game and to play video games. And I think video games are great. I literally own like 5 PlayStation consoles. But if you feel yourself constantly being pulled back to your video game during the day, and then you have your pornography habit that might be also in the day but is in the evening or the night, then if you find yourself wanting to have a drink or two or three or four, or if you find yourself smoking weed or using other drugs, all of those things are escapism from your life. And you can even be escaping your life by going fishing a lot. So see if you're engaging in your life, and what your life should comprise of. And this is a good way to measure it, is you should have meaningful work. You should have lovely relationships with friends or family or your children. You should want to do things with them and want to engage with them. And when you're with them, you should be having fun. And then you should also have a hobby that brings you joy and pleasure. And likely, if you are watching a lot of pornography, those things will not bring you pleasure or joy, because you cannot possibly get a big enough dopamine dump to be able to feel good in your brain. So your brain's always wanting to go back to video games, alcohol, drugs, and pornography, because those things give your brain a much higher dopamine dump than anything in the real world possibly could. Okay, so check in on those 5 signs. Remember, subscribe to this channel so you can get more videos, because it is my goal to help you break this habit. Join my website at drtrishlee.com, and you will see that there's a couple pages there on my Quit Porn for Good workshop and my coaching services. Okay, so remember, control your brain or it'll control you.